welcome to You and Your Health. I'm Dr. Sandy Chapnick, and I'm always on a search for new and interesting guests, and fortunately in my travels, every once in a while I do health fairs and things like that. You never know who you're going to meet. And at a recent health fair, actually right at the Council on Aging, I met this fabulous gentleman. His name is Paul Gustafson, and what does he do? He's a hypnotherapist. And in the past, I've had some interactions and some personal experience with hypnotherapy, and I thought he would make a great guest. Come to find out that Paul has had his own TV show in Burlington for 4 years, so now this is going to be one TV show guy interviewing another TV show guy. So I thought that this would just be a perfect thing to bring my audience, because there's probably still a lot of misconceptions about hypnosis. Is it real? Is it just game show? But I can tell you, and I will tell you in a little while, my own experience with hypnosis, and just to prove to you that it is real and it does work. But first I want to introduce to you Paul Gustafson. And he has been a clinical hypnotherapist for 10 years. He is from Burlington and has helped individuals overcome problems involving stress, smoking, obesity, phobias, irritable bowel syndrome, and more. What sets Paul apart is his 10 years of medical experience as a registered nurse. He has worked for many years at Mass General Hospital, specializing as a hospice nurse prior to entering the field of clinical hypnosis. His depth of medical knowledge and ability to establish powerfully therapeutic relief for his clients is exemplary. Paul has been a regular guest on Boston radio and hosts, as I said, his own TV show, Healthy Hypnosis, which is seen right here in Billerica and in 45 greater Boston communities. He has contributed to national publications including The Complete Idiot's Guide to Hypnosis, The Alcoholism and Addiction Cure, A Holistic Approach to Total Recovery, and his own book, Healthy Hypnosis, The Simple Truth and Practical Use. Welcome, Paul.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. Very much. I appreciate it.
I think this is going to be a lot of fun.
Let's do it.
So, let's start out with the basic definition. What's hypnosis?
What the heck is hypnosis?
You tell me, I asked you first.
The process of accessing the subconscious mind. It's the process of going to the daydream place, the zone out place.
Okay.
And the
dream place?
The dream place, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The reason it's helpful to go there with clinical hypnosis is because that's the home of our habits, our patterns, our values, and beliefs. Anything that's repeated frequently enough becomes rooted in the hard drive, the subconscious.
And it never shuts off, does it?
Right. 24/7.
24/7, and that's the beauty of accessing the subconscious, because it's always there and it's always talking to you.
That's right. And hypnosis helps us to make a connection to it.
Perfect. So there's now self-hypnosis. So do you teach your clients that? Tell me a little bit about that process.
Self-hypnosis, I describe to people, is the process of getting there on your own power without any CDs, without any guidance from anybody. The reason I teach my clients how to do that is because if they can do it on their own, they own the process. And that's power. Too much, for decades, there's been too much deception in this field, leading people to believe that the only way they could get, quote, hypnosis is to pay for it.
Right.
So if I teach my clients to own it, they own the process, everything is more meaningful to them, success is greater, longer lasting, and then they do my marketing for me. So it's a win-win.
You teach them how to fish.
Yep, that's right. Yeah.
It's clearly the way to go. And here is where I was one of those people that, geez, hypnosis, you see people doing shows, and they come to high schools and they laugh, and how real is it? So when I was in chiropractic school, I thought maybe I should take a course in self-hypnosis and see what I can get out of it, and maybe I can further help my patients. So I'm down in Marietta, Georgia, and found this guy who teaches these seminars in hypnosis, and I'm still not 100% sure. Am I getting put under, and how is this really working? So, and this is a vivid memory for me, and this is now taking me about 30 years. And what this hypnotherapist did is he took one of the students in the room, and she was about 5'1" and maybe 100 pounds soaking wet. And he gave her the suggestion that she was, and I remember the quote, as stiff and as rigid as a steel board. And she was on the ground, and all of a sudden she was straight out. and he had two guys come and pick her up. And there she is, just completely stiff. And what he had us do is he had us place her suspended on tops of two chairs by her ankles and by her neck. And there she was, a body, suspended only by her neck and her ankles. Now, you'd have to have tremendous abdominal muscles just to hold yourself up like that, and I doubt there's anyone who actually could. And she was flat out. And then here was this guy who himself had to weigh about 225-ish or so, and he actually got up onto a stool and actually stood on her stomach. Done for me.
Game, set, match.
As far as that to me proved to me that the power of the subconscious is
enormous.
Is enormous. Right. Great word.
Yeah.
So I didn't need any more convincing that hypnosis actually worked, and he did some other things along the way that even blew my mind even more than that, but I don't even need to go into that. Hypnosis works, and clearly you're the guy.
I'm one of many.
You're one of many, but you're clearly one of the local guys. So how, you started out as a registered nurse.
Right.
So what made you get into hypnosis?
Well, I worked at Mass General and then many years as a hospice nurse and got totally fried at the end of that journey and needed a change, and I wanted to be independent. And I used hypnosis for public speaking when I was in college, and it was amazing.
Really?
So I started making calls and I was directed to the right people. The universe, was guiding me because I was totally lost and confused. And I was connecting with the right people and found out that you can make a living doing clinical hypnotherapy. And the first 15 minutes of the first class, I felt I am home. It was a great feeling. I felt like this is where I needed to be. And
so how was the switch going from nursing, which is really medically oriented, to hypnosis, which is not so much?
Well, that's a good question, but the difference in my nursing career is for the last 8 years of my active nursing work, it was involved in hospice, and it was about making powerful verbal, certainly there were medications involved with hospice situations, but there was a lot of dialogue and a lot of connecting with people verbally and putting them at ease, empowering them to get through that tough transition, empowering the families to do what they needed to do, and calming them and focusing them, which really all fall right into the play of a clinical hypnotherapist.
Now, did you ever get to the point where, once you made that break from nursing into hypnotherapy, did you ever go back into nursing at all?
As I was getting my feet under me, I was doing part-time nursing work, sure. And
did you use any of what you were learning in that medical scenario?
No. My part-time nursing at that point was during the infancy of my hypnosis training, and I didn't have the chops then to carry it back into the nursing field. But I'm glad to be doing this full-time.
Now, what does it take to become a hypnotherapist?
Well, you can take. The thing is, hypnosis is not a regulated field in the state of Massachusetts.
Okay.
So anybody can take a seminar in a weekend and get a certificate.
Just like personal trainers can do the same thing.
Exactly. So it's definitely buyer beware.
Got it.
Right? But the course I took was through the National Guild of Hypnotists, which is the oldest and largest governing body, and there's many of these governing bodies out there.
Okay.
And their training was 16 hours of lecture, exams, and practical demonstrations for basic certification. For clinical, it was 24 hours of lecture, exams, and demonstration. Metaphysical, 24 hours lecture. Then I got certified as an irritable bowel syndrome specialist.
Really?
It sounds out there, doesn't it?
Not at all.
Well, you're right, because it's the
Not
reason
for me.
No? Okay. Well, as far as the hypnosis being helpful for it, the research is enormous. I think it's the most researched application of hypnosis, IBS.
For IBS,
yep,
really?
Yep, and it's enormously successful. So, and I was like blown away by it when I first started seeing IBS patients, the results. And we track all their symptoms, and we rate every symptom on a scale of 1 to 10. Every day, they take their homework assignment home with them. And the numbers just trend down. The average number on a scale of 1 to 10 at the beginning of treatment is about an 8, 8.5. At the end, it's like 2 or 3. So it trends down, and it's amazing.
And that's, I tell you, when you're talking to someone with IBS, that they live their diagnosis. They are confined by it.
It defines them.
They know where the next bathroom is. It's a brutal condition. I didn't realize that hypnosis is that powerful
is.
for IBS.
Well, we know it's powerful enough to keep that woman straight across the, you know.
Ain't that the truth?
But you know, it facilitates and taps into the mind-body connection. And when you have that, at your disposal, you're able to make changes with GI motility. You're able to significantly reduce stress and anxiety, and the imagination is in the subconscious mind. So we can take advantage of that and help clients to start creating thoughts, images, and sensations of what they want, and shift the anticipatory anxiety to anticipatory comfort, anticipatory empowerment, and freedom. So, and it's repetition. They go home with their CD and they press play once a day. And they go to the mental gym. They start training their mind to initially get good at the process of relaxing like this, but starting to integrate the therapeutic value of the sessions so that these internal changes are made and the numbers start to go down. It's amazing.
It's a real physiological change.
It is, yep.
It reminds me just of another anecdote of this class. One of the things that he also did was he literally took a needle, a thick needle,
made 2 holes,
and went right through. I forget where. Went right through
and dictated which one of the holes would bleed.
Right.
I've seen that before. Yeah.
It blew my mind.
Yeah. Right. Well, I see clients for warts. I used to get a lot of pediatric referrals with kids with warts.
All right.
And with hypnosis, we're able to alter, enhance, and optimize blood circulation so that the area of the warts don't get the nutrition they need to survive. So they end up drying. The same approach as dictating which hole bleeds, dictating the circulation of the blood and nutrients.
So you knew exactly where I was going with that.
As soon as you said needle, I said, yeah, that's it.
And it was a big ass needle.
Yeah.
And I mean, he helped people go through oral surgery without pain meds and all that kind of stuff.
Right before ether was discovered, there was a researcher down in India using hypnoanesthesia.
Okay.
Major surgeries, amputations, big time surgeries. The research was amazing. It was a pile of it. And they were, it was spreading the word of this amazing technique. Then ether was discovered. Done. Yeah.
Well, there's more money in that.
Yep. Yep.
My sister is an RN, and she uses a lot of hypnosis. She has chronic medical conditions, and she uses a lot of self-hypnosis to help manage her own pain.
Oh, good.
So,
good for her.
Yeah, it's been a blessing for her. So, talking about ether and talking about the American Medical Association, what's their stance on hypnosis? Not that I particularly care what the American Medical Association says, but...
Well, I do know that back in... most people are totally blown away by the fact that the AMA embraced hypnosis as an adjunct modality during the Eisenhower administration in 1958. We followed the British Medical Association, who accepted it in 1957. It's a long time ago, and yet we're still struggling to get more and more into the mainstream. There's been a lot of change. We haven't caught up to the chiropractors yet, but...
well, the AMA was quicker to accept you than
really,
us.
Yeah.
But I guess at this point we're probably more accepted, or at least more mainstream.
Yeah.
Whether acceptance is, do I care or not particularly. Yeah. But it's at least it's great for you that the AMA did say, oh yeah. But I would imagine, for them, they still don't have their teeth in it.
Yeah.
So,
well, the disadvantage we have over you guys is we have to fight the decades of myth and misconception, the manipulative stage hypnosis presentations, as well as the B movies that are out there, stereotyping what hypnosis is. So we have to combat all that and help people understand the therapeutic, serious-minded side of the field, which is where I hang out.
Trust me, there's still plenty of myths and misconceptions about chiropractic, but this show is about you. Do you have, I know you do your IBS work. Are there other things that you specialize in? Or, I mean, I know that smoking is a common reason to see a hypnotherapist. Do you see a lot of smokers?
I sure do. Definitely the garden variety, smoking, weight loss, a lot of stress and anxiety these days with the economy.
Really? What a shock.
Yeah. Yeah. As I said, I get a lot of pediatric referrals, not only for things like warts, but little kids are now stressed, worried about bullying. So you can, with hypnosis, I know, it's very sad. The good news is children are more receptive to hypnosis than adults are. They're walking around in half of a hypnotic trance most of the time anyway. They go into trance real quick, and they have amazing transition. They find great relief. So it's a real trip to sit with kids because they usually have big smiles on their face right out of the gates. They do extremely well. So for them, it's like going to Disneyland, hypnosis.
So give me a percentage as far as kids to adults in your practice.
Oh, it's significantly more adults. I mean, yeah, I'm probably seeing 80% adults. 20% children. Out of all the adults I see, probably 80% are women, 20% are men. But of the men who show up, they have equal results as the women. There just don't seem to be as many of them. So
because they know they don't want to admit that they have a problem that they need help for.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, your profession and mine. Talk about. I always when I take care of interview another practitioner, I always like to find out what's their most interesting case or what's cases that seem to stand out in their head. Are there some people that stand out in you as far as things that you help them with?
Most definitely. I was just going to mention on the subject of IBS, my youngest IBS patient was 9 years old. She was referred by one of the local GI docs, and took him a while to get to me to agree to go. I mean, most people have a period of time just wrapping their mind around the idea of going to a hypnotist, but she was totally riddled. She had to drop out of school, very, very sick, very scared girl. The parents had gone through the whole trip, covered all the mainstream options, and nothing had worked. And that is the range, from 9 to 50 usually for a session. She walked through the door in tears, and after the first session, it was the smile. And she had her homework assignment. She came back 2 weeks later for the second session, and she'd been tracking all of her symptoms, and the numbers were going down. And the second session was just more elation than the first. She's giggling during the session. And it was like a Norman Rockwell painting. I had a sofa in my office at the time, and I do the headphones, and I have the wireless mic and the whole thing. So I give her the set of headphones, and I gave Mom the set of headphones, and she's lying in her mother's arms, and they both got the headphones on, and they're out, deep hypnotic trance. It was a beautiful sight. And so she came back for a third session, and the symptoms were they weren't getting worse. She was starting to trust in the success.
Okay.
And we finished up the remainder. I see them for 6 sessions, and huge, huge success. And the oldest IBS patient I had was 85. And that was also equally impactful. And she had lived her whole life not knowing anything about hypnosis, and here she was at the age of 85. And she was my first guest on my first show. Yeah, I brought her in the office, and we had the cameras down there, and I was just going through that video and posting it on my website. So, Dinah is her name. So,
that's outstanding.
Yeah, it was good
when you do stuff like that, you're literally changing someone's life forever. I mean,
Yeah.
that 9-year-old girl, if she was never referred to you,
who knows?
that would have been her life.
Yeah.
For the rest of her life.
Yeah. I just had a client who's going in for surgery Thursday of this week to have one of her lungs removed.
Really?
And she was. I see a lot of pre-surgical clients. Again, with the imagination, helping them to shape thoughts and images about transitioning past the surgery, giving them suggestions so that their body will only absorb the anesthesia that they need, secrete the rest, teaching them endorphins to manage pain and anxiety, So we'll see. I hope to get her on the show and have her talk about her story too. She left. She was in tears in visit 1, and she left after visit 3, feeling much more empowered and ready to get it done. So it's never boring.
Now, do you have regular hours like a Monday, Wednesday, Monday through
business
Friday?
Hours.
Regular business hours?
Yep. Occasional Saturday sessions. I do see people in the evenings as well. I'm there,
So take me through, someone calls your office. Give me an idea of what they could expect.
Sure. They'll call, or I'll get an email, and we'll make our contact, preferably on the phone. Find out what their concerns are. I can help most people if they're serious-minded, if they're ready to make a change, and if they're open-minded. And So I get an idea of what their problem is, if I can help them, and I feel like I can help most people. They'll come in.
Feel the same way.
Yeah. Because we can, right?
That's right.
Yeah,
Because
it's a fact.
the body wants to heal.
Right.
That's normal homeostasis. The body is designed to be the self-healing, self-regulating system.
Right.
And if you can just remove the interference,
Yep.
whether it's from here or from wherever,
Right.
usually the body can take care of it.
Yeah,
So
most definitely.
we actually really work very similarly.
Yeah, it's a good point. Once they get in the office, the thing that's so important is what I learned in hospice is to listen, to just sit and listen what their issues are. Because I have to develop rapport with them, I have to put them at ease, and I have to get them to a position where we can then transition into what I need to do.
Right.
But it's important for me to know what their situation is and what I need to say to them during a session and how I need to say it and things I need to avoid saying.
So is it a little bit different for each and every client that you have?
Yeah, but the process of putting them at ease and getting them set for hypnosis is pretty standard, listening. I learned that in hospice, just when you think it's time for you to start talking, I would maintain, my silence and listen a little bit longer, ask a few more open-ended questions, and reading body posture, body language.
Right.
You can get a sense when people are comfortable with you in the space, and then it's time to get to work. And then we'll do the self-hypnosis training. I'll do that right before the formal session, and then we'll finish up self-hypnosis, and we'll just go right into the formal session. And then they'll go home with their CD. I'll email them. I'll email them a receipt, but I'll also email them the audio file that explains the self-hypnosis in case they need a refresher. But so then they'll come back in a week usually, or if it's the IBSers, they'll come back in 2 weeks, and we'll do it again. And in the second visit, they know the 3 Ps. They come in knowing me, the person. They know the place, and they've been listening to their session, so they know the process. Second session is easier, deeper, more meaningful, and one builds on the next. And
typically, how many sessions, or does it depend on the issue?
It usually about on the issue. I see smokers for two sessions, office visits. We do 2 sessions on the first visit. They come back in a week. We do a 3rd session.
Okay.
Stress, anxiety, fear, I'll see for 3. Pain, I see substance abuse for pain and substance abuse for 4 sessions. I see weight loss for 4. I've changed it as through the years, but those seem to be the magic numbers. And then the IBS is 6. And I really help to train self-practitioners. I want them to stand on their own 2 feet. And very rarely do I have people double back looking for more. On rare occasion, I'll have people that really want to be connected to me and be there every week, and I don't
almost like therapy.
Yeah, I don't like that. It doesn't feel right to me because that's not what I am.
Right.
You're
teaching them how to fish.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Perfect.
Give them the right bait. We speak the same language.
Yeah, we really do. So you had mentioned, you talked a little bit about these myths and misconceptions.
Oh, sure. The big one.
A little?
The big one is, you're going to relinquish free will, right? The hypnotist is going to control you.
And make you cluck like a chicken.
Yeah, but I tell everybody, if you want to cluck like a chicken, it's going to cost extra. The thing, it's giving up free will. And I tell all of my clients, I'm not taking anything from you. In fact, what I'm going to do with you is to help you tap into power and inner resources you didn't previously know you had, and so that you can become a stronger person on your own 2 feet. As far as stage hypnosis goes, it's real, but it's also staged. 3 components. One is the people who volunteer are the ones who don't necessarily mind clucking like a chicken in front of a room full of people.
Right.
Then the hypnotist will do suggestibility tests and only invite up the most hypnotizable people on stage. Once they're on stage, then peer pressure kicks in.
Right.
The volunteers know that the audience expects them to cluck like a chicken. And then the hypnotist has good technique and does rapid induction, which is fast hypnosis, and everything falls into place.
Right. So that stage hypnosis is really
most definitely
is real. It is happening.
Yeah.
But the hypnotist makes it work for
It's
them.
orchestrated, yeah.
Sure.
But the actual hypnosis is real, and the antics are real. I mean, we go to our convention every year, and we've got...
Well, that's got to be a wild convention.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So what are keys to success from your end and, let's say, from my end as a client?
Okay, there are 3. Number one, you have to be an open-minded, willing participant, able to follow simple instructions. Number two, you have to really want to do what you say you want to do. I enhance motivation and desire. I don't create it for you.
Right.
And thirdly, if you come in having repeated, the unhealthy pattern for decades, you should expect to need to repeat the solution for a period of time, which is what I mean. People need to go home and press play for, if they want to establish a pattern that's deeply rooted, a nice, long, thick, strong root of a solution, then it takes a few weeks. But it's a tough assignment, I know. You have to put your feet up, close your eyes, and relax real deeply on a regular basis. It's tough.
It's a tough job.
It really is.
And someone should want to do that.
Yep, and people can do it at bedtime, and they can fall asleep when they listen in the subconscious, like we said before.
Yeah,
it's always open for business.
It's funny. I recommend meditation for my patients, and and I say, well, I don't have time. Not a problem. You're going to go to bed sooner or later anyway. Put the headphones in, lay down, and invariably someone says, "Doc, I think I did it wrong. I fell asleep."
Yeah.
And
how do you feel? Oh, I feel great.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. I actually use, I guess, some hypnosis techniques.
I can tell.
What part of an issue that some of my patients have is they sleep on their stomach, which is bad for posture, bad for neck problems, and I say, well, you need to stop doing that. Well, how do I know I'm asleep? And I say, look, you ever have a point where you're worried about something and you're worried about it, and it works into your dreams at night? Oh yeah, it happens all the time. Well, that's because your subconscious is still awake. So this is what you do before you go to bed. Over and over again, each night say, I'm not going to sleep on my stomach. I'm not going to sleep on my stomach.
Self-hypnosis.
And you do that over and over again over the course of a week or two, and I guarantee what will happen is in the middle of the night, you're going to roll onto your stomach, and your subconscious is going to still be awake and say, I'm on my stomach, and you're going to roll back.
You need to get certified in hypnosis. You're good.
You like that?
Yeah, I like that.
See,
You've got some potential.
Thank you
If this
very much.
chiropractic thing doesn't work out
If it doesn't work out,
we've got a place for you in
thank you
hypnosis.
so much. After 25 years, at this point, if I can't make it as a chiropractor, I'm screwed.
You're going fishing.
Absolutely. Yeah, I guess it's utilized, and it can really be accessed by anybody.
Yep. Yeah.
And the point is, and it's my point as well, you have to want it.
That's right.
If you don't want to get well, if you don't want to stop smoking, if you don't want to stop eating unhealthy foods, you're never going to stop.
Yeah.
I got just a few seconds.
Yep.
Tell them something that you want them to take home with them. Quick.
Positive change is not far away. When you tap into your own inner resources, change can come quickly. Hypnosis is a tool that helps you to get from point A to point B very quickly, and when you own it, success is fantastic.
This was the quickest 30-minute show I've ever done, and I barely looked at my notes.
Yeah.
Paul, I can tell you're really good at what you do.
Oh, thank you.
He's the next town over. You've seen his shows on this TV station. I got 8 seconds. Stay healthy, Bill Ricca. I love you. We'll see you next month.